This is Sherry Bowers with Connected Spirit and Connected Spirit Connected Biz giveaway event. And today I've got the pleasure of having Ellen Shapiro with us to talk a little bit about the work that she's doing, which is amazing and wonderful.
Thank you.
So Ellen, tell us a little bit about how you got started in your work, because you're kind of a neat mix of left brain, right brain type background. So this is pretty
Yeah,
interesting, I think, for
yeah.
most people.
Thank you. Yeah, well, it started for me. Well, I won't go to when it really started. You don't have time for that.
Right.
In terms of like getting into this work of healing and coaching and transformation, it was a series of things, but the initial wake up was working, and it was really an abusive situation in a corporate job. And I worked so much. I was working as an accountant, and it was, even for that field, it was extreme. I
Hmm.
was young, I was trying to prove myself, I guess, and didn't really think I had a choice.
Yeah.
And worked for a real macho guy who was like an ex-Marine. They called it boot camp. Working for him was boot camp. So I was kind of this liberal, good girl trying to like prove myself. So I worked myself into just a really very bad condition. And I had so much overtime banked that I went off for a month to heal myself. And over time, I started to let go of all the tension and all the overwork and realize if I keep going on this path, I was in my late 20s,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be well by the time I'm 40. And this is not worth it to me. So I started questioning, and I started getting interested in healing. So
Hmm.
that was the beginning of the
And
journey.
you've got the advantage, I mean, luckily for you, because it's funny, because my path was somewhat similar. Accounting
Uh-huh.
background, working in a
Oh, yeah.
CPA firm and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
but
Oh, wow.
but I didn't wise up to that till a little bit later.
Right.
So
Right.
um so tell us about who do you mainly work with at this point? Do you have a specific group that you tend to focus on, or?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've always worked mainly with women. I can work with men, but that's definitely a focus. And then I've worked with women in all different stages. I mean, a lot of it, if I look at the themes in my work, it's women that are on the verge of like leaving a box of some kind,
Yeah.
career that stifles them, or a marriage that's just killing their soul. Those are the main things, but now I'm focusing a little bit more on creative, visionary women and change makers, because I mean, my work can help at any different stage, but I just feel like the people who are in a position to make a difference in the world through their work, whether they're solo entrepreneurs or working in a corporate environment. I mean, working with women, there's universal themes that we all
Yeah.
deal with. It's a little different in the younger generations, but it's stuff.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so that's who I've chosen to work with. And that's my focus at
That's
this point.
awesome.
Yeah,
So
thanks.
tell us a little bit then about like your core services, or what at your core,
Right,
how do you work with people?
right. It's transformational work. So some people call that work coaching or energy healing. For me, again, because I have this background, I can bring different things to it. Sometimes somebody's talking about something, and my practical business person is like, okay, but do you have these pieces in place in your business?
Right.
And then I ask them, do you want to go in that direction? Or let's clear what stops you from seeing what's blocking you. That's really mostly where I focus.
Oh, that's nice.
Because,
Yeah.
yeah, because there's a lot of great business coaches out there that can guide you with those things. But what I've found for myself as well as others is the psychology of it. Your motivation, your belief in whether it can work or not is going to determine how persistent you are, and whether how you interpret what happens to you. And women are tend to take it all very personally instead of saying, okay, it didn't land over there, it didn't click with that
Right?
person,
Yeah.
or what else can I tweak? We go into, it must be me, is something wrong with me.
Yeah.
And so I'm
Yep.
really good at like helping people kind of nip that in the bud.
That's awesome, because that's a huge one. I see that in my clients too, that, it's I think we're just, well, we grow up that way from a
Right,
whole slew of factors of like
right.
that, we
Yeah,
look at things differently, and that's, sometimes you do have to just step back. But I love the fact what you said about helping people see or be willing to see what the blocks are, because
right,
that I think is such a key thing. There's lots of coaches out there. Oh, I'll help you clear the blocks.
right,
You can only clear what you can see, right?
right,
What is
right.
there. And it's those blind
Yeah,
spots that
right,
are the problem children, right?
right. And sometimes it's just asking a question, which I call myself a pattern detective. I'm really good at because I'm trained to look at that, and that's what I do all the time,
Right.
especially like, I mean, in a lot of areas, but money, confidence, success. I hear something and I go, okay, it's probably, that pattern. And rather than, sometimes I'll say, sort of like, there's people that read you, they tell you, this is what I see about
Right.
you. Sometimes I do that, but more it's like I invite them to see it. Like, what do you think about this? Could this be a possibility? I ask questions, and then I think it goes deeper when you make the connection yourself, like,
Yeah.
oh, I just never saw how that all linked up before.
Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah,
I mean, that's where the power lies, I think, is, when it clicks for people, you can tell people what you see till you're blue in the face, but until it clicks for them,
right.
it kind of, you still can't get over that hump. So that's
Yeah,
awesome to hear.
yeah.
Um, so tell us a little bit about your gift, because as part of this, you're offering this wonderful gift that everybody needs to get. So tell us a little bit
Probably,
about that.
probably.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Especially right
Well,
now.
yeah. Well, I was thinking about what was something I could offer to people that would be accessible for them, give them an idea of me and my energy, but more importantly, have something that you could just use, whether you work
Right.
with me or not. And one of the biggest barriers for me, and I'm trained in a lot of different modalities and working with people, and one of them is tapping into wealth coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And that is an application of tapping or emotional freedom technique around money issues.
Mm-hmm.
And Margaret Lynch is the one who created this, and she's an engineer, so she reversed engineered money issues.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the big ones that she talked about is, well, it could be financial or goal trauma, but she used that word. And like a financial trauma would be something where you lost money or you mismanaged it or you thought you did or somebody
Right.
stole from you, or sometimes it's not even that, it's just you failed to take action and things snowballed. But it's something that was at the level of like a really painful experience.
Mm-hmm.
And people will think about, well, I know about my childhood traumas and all this stuff. They don't think about finances, but we can have really traumatic losses and things, or
Yeah.
somebody gets ripped off in a divorce or whatever it is, right?
Right.
And then we often, our response is that we hold it against ourselves. We can't forgive it, or we don't even know that we've got that going on. But
Mm-hmm.
what it does is it makes us just sort of not want to deal with it anymore. I mean, I had a client who could not deal with her taxes for like 10 years. This was when I was working with her as an accountant, but she couldn't deal with her taxes for like 10 years. And when we finally, she just realized the reason I couldn't deal with it, it's not like she can't handle numbers or anything, is
Right.
that her ex-husband abused her and put her down around all her mental capacities. And all of these years were years when she was married to him, and just
Yeah.
or dealing with the aftermath of the marriage. And it was like, so that's one of the responses that happens with trauma, is a freeze response or a kind of dissociation of like, you just can't deal with it. And
Right.
people don't think that they would have something like that around money, because we somehow think we're like, okay, maybe we're irrational about our emotions, but money, oh sure. It's like,
Right. Right.
hello.
Yeah, and that can be so, in just even in my personal experience, I can see how that, some of those things are huge in our life.
Yeah,
You might grow up with them, and then you might
right,
repeat patterns that you've learned, and then, it's
right,
just like, oh my goodness. And I
right,
think, we don't think of that as abuse, like, okay, about physical abuse, and you understand
right,
emotional abuse, and you understand,
right,
these other abuses that feel like they're related to people, versus, yeah, monetary abuse can be even, just as bad or
right,
worse,
right,
because you don't realize it.
right. And we just, it's like we don't have psychology hooked up with money at all. And yet I mean, even,
Yeah.
people in the financial realm say investors are notoriously, emotional. Very few, most people that lose money. And I mean, I'm not saying I've got this mastered perfectly either.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Money is connected with survival. So, of
yeah,
course, everything else we've got connected with survival, you know, is just very loaded. So it's just hard to see clearly. But
yeah,
there's things to see and there's things to do about it. We don't have to just keep reliving it, you
yeah.
know. So
So I
yeah.
didn't mean to like sidetrack the conversation. So with the
Perfect.
gift, tell us a little
Yeah.
bit of
Yeah. Right. Thank you.
what the
Yeah.
gift is.
Right. The gift. So it all ties into that because
Mhm.
it's a financial forgiveness. It's actually the first part. I started out as a meditation, then I was like, I need to explain a little bit more, like some of what we were just talking about why is this important and how do you find that if there is something like that going on. So there's a workbook that takes you through a couple of these questions and invites you to just try and be kind to yourself, look at it, and just say, this is just, if there's something here, let me address it. And then the meditation is helping us with forgiveness because, again, the reason we usually hold on to things is this idea that it's going to protect us from making the same mistake again or having the same thing happen to us. And it's understandable, but fear doesn't really keep us safe.
Right.
What keeps us safe is learning from the experience, forgiving ourselves, and then what do I do differently now?
Hmm.
How can I, being proactive about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah,
Awesome. Awesome.
so that's the gift.
Like I said, everybody needs to get this.
Yeah.
So, um, so anybody that's watching the video, the links to that gift will be below the video. And, by all means, take Ellen up on this. This is a huge gift. That I don't think there's anybody on the planet that couldn't benefit from that in reality.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for spending some time with us and
My
sharing what you
pleasure.
do
Yeah. Yeah.
and how you can help people. And we will see everybody else on the next spotlight. Thanks.
All right. Thanks so much.